I'm Michelle Mussel. You know, there's a lot of talk these days about the environment and how to take care of the earth. You know, no one has been taking care of the earth longer or better than America's beef producers. So in honor of Earth Day, we're celebrating the wonderful food the earth provides by creating a recipe brought to us by a ranching family that's been nationally recognized for their outstanding care of the land, water, and wildlife. This delicious beef recipe comes from the Stone family near Sacramento, California. The Stones operate the Yolo Land and Cattle Company, and today we're making one of their favorite recipes, Wrangler beef stew. So joining me in the kitchen to demonstrate this recipe is my good friend and colleague, Chef Shanoa French.
Michelle.
So I see that you started the stew. Can you tell me what you've done so far?
Yeah, we've started this stew with bacon. So we're going to show that. What I did first was just take about 4 ounces of bacon, cut it up in small pieces as you can see, and then just did a nice brown on it. So, and then took it out, and then we've added about 1 onion. One nice chopped up onion, put it in the pan, and we're looking for that nice golden kind of caramel color, as you can see that's in here now. And it looks just about done. If you want to hand me that bowl, we'll go ahead and get these out of here. So just kind of scoop them all out, and all of these ingredients will be added back later.
So, you know, I see you have some peppers here. You know, one nice thing about stews is that they are pretty versatile. For summer, spring that we're heading into, you know, we've added peppers, but you know, if it was the autumn, like, what would you add?
Well, personally, if I'm going into the fall, I'd prefer potatoes and maybe some butternut squash, kind of that fall root vegetable style, that kind of feel. You guys can do this as kind of like neighborhood stew, and everybody brings their own vegetables from their gardens, and kind of someone provides the beef and someone provides the vegetable, which is kind of a neat
I like that.
Community involvement center. So while we have a hot pan here with a little bit of grease, the next step is taking care of our beloved beef. We have some stew meat cut up here, about 1-inch pieces. And we've added it to some flour, some salt and pepper. Just shake it up, get them nice and coated. So then we're going to take just these cubes and go into this nice hot pan.
So what does the flour do for the beef?
The flour, it gives it a coating, so it gives you a nice brown on it, and then it'll also stay into the stew to help thicken. Kind of gives you a nice thicker flavoring at the end. So we'll get a couple of these pieces in here. Get them nice and browned. You don't want to add too many pieces in at once, because otherwise you'll get that steamed beef. And we're really looking for a nice golden sear on the outside, juicy on the inside. So I'm going to switch pots over here. We have one that's just about finished. As you can see, there's a couple pieces left in there, nice browning on them. This is something that's going to have to be done in probably 2 or 3 batches. You just don't want to overcrowd the pot.
So if you can add them to a bowl, just to use later on.
You can see we've kind of done a couple in here and put the rest of them in a bowl. If you need to add a little bit of oil in the process to keep it from sticking and burning, do so. Yeah, whatever's needed.
So are those ready to be added?
Yeah, let's get these out of here. Add them into this bowl. And then, these little guys are jumping all over the place. All right, so got the beef out of there. The next step is to deglaze the pan. And what we're doing, we're going to use a liquid. This is actually a nice dark beer. You can choose any brand, your favorite one. You only need 1 bottle, so you can do whatever you want with the rest of it.
So you're going to add the whole bottle?
The whole bottle, yeah, exactly. So hot pan, cold liquid, go ahead into the pan. That nice bubble and sizzle in there, which is good, what you want. Going to add all of it in there and start stirring the bottom and the sides of your pan. What you're looking for is to get all those nice brown caramelization with that flour that really sticks to the bottom of the pan.
So you're kind of pulling up the bits a little bit.
So
that's going to add a lot of flavor.
It's all about the flavor. And that's exactly what it is. So once you get all that nice and stirred off the bottom, have your heat at about medium, you're going to want to kind of bring it to a boil. So while that's coming to a boil, let's just add everything back in there.
So what do you want to start with?
Let's start with the onions.
So we're going to add your caramelized onions.
Right, like I said, about 1 onion that we caramelized earlier. So that'll go in. Go ahead and grab that bacon for me. We'll go there next.
And this was about 4 ounces of bacon, you said?
And so then bacon. And then let's go with the beef. Or the beef jerky works
beef jerky?
too.
How much beef jerky?
That is about a cup, so about 8 ounces. You can kind of measure it as you know, as you like. More for those that like it and less for those that don't. This is about 3 pounds of the chuck stew meat. So we've all browned it. That'll go in here. And then everything kind of just keeps added to the pot. Next, we'll go to the honey and the bay leaves.
So about how much honey do you have here? How much are you going to add?
Again, about a tablespoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how many bay leaves do you want?
We only want one.
Okay.
Just one for this recipe.
You know, one interesting thing is that the honey and the bay leaves can be found on the Stone's Ranch. Isn't that
That's kind of a cool thing that they do both the grass, the cattle, and all the other complete family stew recipes that go into it. I know that they do have all their own websites and they ship all that product too. So if you're interested in getting it, that's kind of neat.
Okay.
All right. Now that we've got everything in here, grab my spoon real quick and give it a nice stir. And then what we're going to do is just put the lid on it and let it cook. You bring it up to a boil and then let it simmer for about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And that way everything starts to get tender.
Okay.
So we're going to pretend that this has been going on for about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And now it's time to add the vegetables.
Great. Awesome. So, but how many peppers do you have here?
We have one of each. One green, one yellow. One orange, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, just one of each. And like I said, if you like one color pepper better than the other, you can do red ones, you can do yellow ones, whatever works.
Okay. And then we're going to add thyme. So about how much thyme?
Again, about a tablespoon.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get that in there.
So like the peppers that we added previously, you know, what's interesting is that beef is also a product of the earth. You know, what beef producers do is convert renewable grasses into great tasting, high quality protein. So you're stirring it up, and we're going to kind of get it going here.
Yeah.
Okay,
again,
then what comes next?
Stir it up, and then, again, it's that lid on there, that tight lid, and you let it set for another 30 minutes.
Okay.
So kind of stick it in there and walk away. What you're looking for is that fork tender on both the peppers and the beef.
Oh, great. Okay. So that's a good indicator.
Right, exactly.
So if you need to go a little longer, you can.
Exactly.
Okay.
Half an hour is kind of your fail-safe timing, and then that's when you start checking it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we've got our final product here.
Yeah.
Right? So what we've done is we've paired it with some really nice crusty bread.
Right.
Who doesn't love stew with bread?
It's kind of like a spoon.
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, we hope you love the Stone family's Wrangler beef stew. You know, make it a point to learn more about how America's 800,000 beef producers are protecting the earth. You know, thanks for joining us, and happy stewing.